Hey friends, I'm planting tomatoes. It is a lovely, I think 50 some degree day here in North Idaho, and I'm going to take you along on that journey. When I start seeds, I do use a seed starting mix, and this is what I get. There's a lot of varieties out there, and the reason that I use a seed starting mix rather than just using potting soil is because those seeds, when they first grow, don't actually need any food. All of the food they need is in their first leaves that come out, and probably about 2-ish weeks, it really depends on the plant, is when I'll be transplanting those up. So I find it a lot cheaper to just get seed starting mix. I do mix my seed starting soil with vermiculite, which you can get almost anywhere. And you can get it in small bags. Sometimes I get it in a big, huge bag. It really depends. And the vermiculite combined with the seed starting soil is going to make a really light, airy soil, which is what we want for these seeds to start growing. I am still figuring out which tomato varieties are best here in our climate here in North Idaho. And so this year I just went and got some tomato seeds from our local farm store. So I was limited to what they have. And I also had some other seeds that were just in my seed boxes that I haven't used yet. So this year I am growing a sweetie cherry tomato. I have Roma tomatoes. I have some Brandywine. It's like a variety. Cherokee purple. There's a rainbow mix I found in there. I'm going to plant some of those. And then this one I've never grown before. It's called Moneymaker. And I'm not sure how well this one will do. It actually says it's for mild climates. And it's a good choice for greenhouses or southern gardeners, which I am not. So we'll see how that one does. When choosing when to start your tomato seeds, you want to be paying attention to the back of your seed packet. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these. So days to emerge means how long is it going to take possibly from when you put this seed into the soil for it to germinate and grow. So I'm looking at the Cherokee purple right now, and it says days to emerge 5 to 10 days. So I know within about 10 to 14 days, if I have not seen some growth, maybe possibly something is wrong with my seed, or I did something wrong in the process. Seed depth, 1/4 inch. That means how deep do you plant these seeds? And all seeds have a different depth that they should be planted. Seed spacing, a group of 3 seeds every 24 to 36 inches. So I am not planting these directly outside. I am planting them in what's called a plug tray. A plug tray just has these little holes. So I'm going to put probably 2 seeds per plug in case one of them doesn't grow. I'm not ending up with empty plug holes. Next, thinning. When 2 inches tall, thin to 1 every 24 to 36 inches. Again, I'm not planting these outside. I am going to thin them when I pot them up or transplant them into a larger pot. And for tomatoes, that's not going to happen until they have a nice set of their first true leaves. And maturity. This is the most important number that you are going to look for on a seed packet on planting in your area. And you need to compare this to the days to harvest that you get where you live. And your days to harvest are how many growing days you have between your last frost and your first frost. I'm in a really short growing season area. We have 100 or so days. So I need to find plants that are going to get to maturity in under 100 days. So these ones, it's 80 days from transplanting. And some seed packets will say 80 days. Some will say 80 days from transplanting. And that's an important number to think about. If you were gonna just plant these directly outside, you're gonna need to add some time to that 80 days number. So let's go ahead and get some tomato seeds in the ground. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, and I have already done this, is to mix up whatever soil you are starting your seeds in. And like I said, I use a seed starting soil with a little bit of vermiculite, and you're going to want to get that moist. You don't want it dripping, but you do want it to hold together a little bit. So get that all mixed up, loosen up any clumps that you have in the soil, and get it wet. Then you are going to fill either your plug trays or your pots. In this case, I am using a plug tray because I like to plant more tomatoes than I can possibly use, because I think I'm going to use them all. And every year I say, don't plant as many tomatoes, don't plant as many tomatoes. And every year I still plant too many tomatoes, but that's okay. I am going to embrace the tomato planting. So I've filled this with dirt, and I use a pen for this. You can use anything that has just a small tip, and I'm just poking holes. I go ahead and do every single plug at one time. That way, when I'm planting seeds, they're just all ready to go and I can get all the seeds in. I do only plant one variety at a time, and I make sure and label them as I get them into the plug tray. So I have my tray ready, the holes are ready, and my tags are set aside along with a pencil for labeling them, and my seeds. I'm going to go ahead and get seeds into these pots now, and I'm going to start with the cherry tomatoes. Sometimes seeds will come in an extra little package. This is good. This is usually made with Mylar or some kind of airtight packaging. Just go ahead and rip this open. And I think this one, it'll also tell you on a seed packet how many are in there. This one has 25 seeds. I don't really think I need 25 cherry tomato plants. My plug tray has 7 across, so I am going to go ahead and plant 14. And you just put a seed or 2, depending on what you want, in each hole. If you have a seed that doesn't quite land where you want it to, you can grab a tool of some kind and just kind of move that seed to the middle and make sure it doesn't get stuck on the tool you were using. I'm going to go ahead and put the seeds that I have left back. Fold this up. Put it back in here. And I'll go ahead and fold that down also. Now I'm going to go ahead and give these a spray with a mister, cover them, and then label these 2 rows with the variety of tomato that's here so I don't forget. So these seeds are in. I am using mini blinds, old mini blinds for my tags, and I just cut them up. You can get these super inexpensively, maybe even free, at your secondhand store or thrift store, or Habitat for Humanity. Their Rebuild It centers often have old mini blinds, and just ask them for the one that is like, do you have one that's really broken that you're going to throw away? And they will probably just give it to you, and then you can cut those up and make hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of tags. Like one set of mini blinds will last me years and years and years. So mini blinds are a great free plant tag that you can make. I like to, our soil is moist, so we don't need to water it a ton, but I like to use a spray bottle when seedlings are tiny or when I'm planting seeds, because I'm not going to wash the seed away. And so just give these a good soak. Seeds that are germinating shouldn't dry out. So you're going to want to check these every day. until they're growing and you're able to move them into a larger pot that might retain water for a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my tomato varieties into this pot, and then I will show you my germination area. I am planting these brandywines next, and they actually say on the back, because it's a variety, there's red and yellow tomatoes in here. So it says on the back that red seeds are stained with organic coloring to indicate the red tomato. So if you are getting a mix of some kind, sometimes they color the seeds, sometimes it's just a surprise. So here's what those look like. I don't know if you can see them. There's definitely a lot more red than yellow in here. I am gonna put the red ones in their own row and mark them as red so that I know which ones are which when I am potting up these tomatoes. Got 2 rows of red, and now I'm going to work on the yellow ones. I don't know if I have enough yellow ones for an entire row, but we will see. And I am only putting 1 of each seed in just because these packets don't have quite as many seeds, and they're brand new, so I'm not really concerned about them germinating. I ended up putting 1 red seed in that row just so I didn't have an empty space. Get my tags in before I plant anything else. And then cover up these seeds gently. These are Roma tomato seeds. And Roma is really good tomato sauce and a paste tomato because it's a really meaty tomato. It doesn't have as many seeds in it. So I'm going to go ahead and plant 3 rows of these because we make a lot of sauce. Last year we took a gardening break, and I am almost through all of our sauce. I think we've maybe got 15 jars left. So I want to have a big tomato season. Hopefully the weather will cooperate with me on that. As you grow in your gardening, you will be able to label things in a way that, you remember what it is. Like, I know that a Roma is a tomato variety, but if you don't know that, go ahead and write tomato, Roma tomato on your label. Label it in whatever way is going to work for you when you have, 20 or 30 or 100 little pots scattered about in your seed starting area, and you're going to be able to tell them apart. So you can see this is a rainbow mix, but none of these are marked. So it's going to be a surprise when you harvest. I'm just going to plant 1 row of these because I'm not really sure what they are. I'm really hoping I get there's a green zebra or a green tomato in there because I did not buy any of those seeds and I really like those. I'm just going to label this one Rainbow Mix. I only have 3 rows left. I am going to plant these with that one called Moneymaker. There are 25 seeds in here, so 3 times 7 is 21. So I should have enough seeds. And these are the ones that said better in a mild climate, but I want to see what they do. And these ones are just little white seeds. As you can see, it gets pretty messy in here as the season goes on. And my greenhouse, this is the north side, this is the south side. So I always start seeds over here. This side of the greenhouse is where I have electrical. I don't have any electrical running on this side because I'm often using the hose over here, even though these are outdoor waterproof outlets. I have lights that I haven't installed yet, and I also use heat mats. And heat mats are just little mats. They look like this, and there's multiple sizes that warm up to keep the soil at the right temperature. And I just set the tray right on the heat mat. These are currently onions, and these are yellow onions. I'm gonna go ahead and set up another heat mat right here. I keep twist ties on all my cords so that I can try and keep it neat and tidy in here. It gets harder and harder the more plants are in here. So this is also going to get a dome cover. You can get these at Walmart. Let me show you. The Walmart ones are usually, I think the brand is Jiffy, and they're pretty flimsy, but they work. So you can also get them. I get them in bulk from Greenhouse Megastore. I don't know. These are probably 14 years old, maybe. Bootstrap Farmer is another great place to get them. And those are going to last you a long time, but you're going to pay for that in upfront expense. So if you can't afford super heavy duty ones, get the cheap ones at a big box store. And if you can't afford those, use plastic wrap or something out of your kitchen. You don't have to have specialty supplies to start your own tomatoes. So I have this heat mat on. Let's see if it's on. Yep. They do occasionally break and start heating, so you want to make sure. And this is just going to keep the soil temperature warm enough that these tomatoes are going to germinate faster. It was getting warm in there. It's probably about 50-ish degrees out here. It feels like. I haven't checked, but the sun is shining, which means in that greenhouse, it's probably between 80 and 90. And well, lovely, a little warm. So that is how I start tomatoes. It's going to take 5 to 10, 12 days for those seedlings to emerge from the soil. And they're just going to look like tiny little things in the beginning. And they will not get their true leaves, which are their first leaves. You might hear people say their first true leaves, their first leaves, their real leaves, probably for a couple weeks. So they can stay in those little plug trays for quite a while. Once their first leaves, which are cotyledon, and they are already in the seed, but they contain all the food that plant needs. Once those are gone, that plant really needs to be potted up or transplanted into a larger pot with some soil that does have some food in it for it. So I will transplant those into larger 4-inch pots probably here in about 3 weeks, and let them keep growing in the greenhouse. And I will continue to pot those up until they are in the large pots or the buckets that I'm going to keep them in the greenhouse, or they're ready to go out into my garden. And for When that would happen for you is going to depend on your last frost date. For me, our last frost is not until June, mid-June. So I will not plant my tomatoes out until then. But your last frost date might be sometime in May or April. And so you need to, one, find out your last frost, and you need to kind of do some math and calculation on your calendar with your seeds for your area. So that is tomato planting, starting tomatoes, and what my setup looks like.